Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Manitoba Start is the leading provider of career services to newcomers in the province of Manitoba and connects businesses to a world-class workforce. I would like to welcome you all to this Labor Market Connection webinar, a series of live broadcasted events designed to assist you in entering the Manitoba labor market. Manitoba Start acknowledges that we're gathered on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Anishinaabe, Dakota Oyate, Dennis-Luni, and Nihilta'ak nations, and the homeland of the Red River Métis. We acknowledge that our water is sourced from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation. As a newcomer serving organization, we commit to learning about the histories, cultures, and the rights of the Indigenous communities. We strive to build a respectful and supportive relationship for all. Today's webinar is focusing on the Engineers Geoscientists of Manitoba. My name is Luna. I'm the Outreach Coordinator here at Manitoba Start, and I will be your host for today's webinar. And before we begin, I will be going through a couple of housekeeping items so it can help you to ask your question by the end of the session, but I encourage everyone to write their question on the chat as well, so we'll get back to that in the Q&A. So you can use the raise hand feature to indicate that you have a question or a comment. And to do this, you can click on the participants button in the meeting controls and find the raise hand icon next to your name, and you can click on it. And this will notify that we have a raised hand, and you have to unmute yourself from your side as well. You can use the Q&A feature or the chat as well. If you are using a mobile device, you can do the same. So our today's webinar, as I have said, is with the Engineers Geoscientists of Manitoba. So if you are an internationally educated engineer preparing to begin at the licensure process or already started and looking for a clarity on the competence-based assessment or the CBA, this webinar is designed for you. Engineers Geoscience Manitoba, the regulatory body, is responsible for licensure. Okay, let's add this. Okay. So the Engineers and Geoscience of Manitoba is a regulatory body responsible for the licensing engineers and geoscientists in Manitoba. EGM regulates the practice of engineering and geoscience in the province, ensures high professional standard, and protects the public interest and supports the ongoing development of its members. In our today's interactive information session, we will learn about an overview of the EGM and its role, eligibility requirements for the professional licensure, a clear explanation of the competency-based assessment process, and step-by-step guidance on the application process and how it gets started. This session is an excellent opportunity to gain accurate and up-to-date information directly from the regulatory and feel more confident in navigating your licensure journey. So please welcome Anjanette Zelensky, the Director of the Registration at Engineers Geoscientists of Manitoba. Over to you, Anjanette.
Thank you, Luna. And welcome, everyone. Thank you for your interest. My name is Anjanette Zelensky. I'm the Director of Registration with Engineers Geoscientists Manitoba in the Admissions Department. Also on today's presentation on the line, we have Claudia Shimko. She is the Academic Assessment Coordinator. And after the presentation, we welcome any questions you may have. I'm going to now share my screen. Okay, so I believe everyone should be able to see the presentation.
Yes.
Great, okay. Just bear with me here. Okay. So great. We'll get going then. Okay. So Engineers Geoscientists Manitoba, as was mentioned, regulates the professions of engineering and geoscience in the province of Manitoba. A little bit about the association. So it goes back quite ways. It's over 100 years old, as the Engineering Professions Act was established to regulate the profession of engineering in Manitoba. But in 1998, our mandate was expanded to regulate professional geoscientists. And then our act changed to the Engineering and Geoscientific Professions Act. And under the act, the purposes of our association is to govern and regulate the practice of professional engineering and geoscience, to promote and increase knowledge, skill, and competency of its practitioners and students, and also to advocate where the public is at risk. So currently, our membership stands at just about 10,587. Roughly, most of those members are in the engineering field, 97%. And of the 10,598, this includes 3,151 interns. And interns are essentially the first step towards obtaining your professional license. You'll be becoming an intern first. So in Manitoba, only registered professional engineers and geoscientists can practice professional engineering. This is because, as I mentioned, we have an act and the professions are regulated under that act. So anyone wishing to practice engineering in the province or geoscience in the province will need to be legally registered with us. So this means that even though you may have a degree in engineering or geoscience and may have worked as an engineer or geoscientist in another country, you cannot call yourself a professional engineer within the province of Manitoba unless you are regulated. And it is a professional engineer or geoscientist that takes responsibility of the work, and hence they become a member of the association. That said, even if you are not a registered member of the association, you could practice engineering or geoscience under the direct supervision of a professional engineer or professional geoscientist who would be taking responsibility for the work. It is important to note that even though if you become registered in one province, it doesn't grant you authority to practice in other provinces. You have to register for each province that you practice in Canada. The process is quite easy once you become a professional engineer or geoscientist, but it is important. Every province has their own legislation with respect to the regulation of professional engineering and geoscience. So there are a couple of different application types when you're pursuing to practice professional engineering or geoscience. The first is that professional engineer or professional geoscientist designation, so the PEng PGO. So for that particular application, you do need to have a 4-year degree in engineering or geoscience. And if you aren't registered with another province, then you would be looking to apply first to become an engineering intern or geoscience intern. The other type of application that we have is called a specified scope of practice license. And this is for applicants who may not hold a 4-year degree in engineering or geoscience, or may have some gaps that they don't have that equivalent degree. So what would happen is you would be licensed to practice within a very specific scope of engineering or geoscience with certain limitations and exclusions to practice. The other type of application we have is something called a temporary license. This license is granted for professionals that are registered outside of Canada, typically in the United States, that are working on a time-limited project in Manitoba. So for the PEng PGO pathway, there are a couple of eligibility requirements. So you do need to have both academic and practice qualifications and experience. The academic qualifications are what are needed at the time of application. So that's where we would be looking at your academic background. However, the practice experience, you may come with a lot of practice experience, which could be applied. However, in some instances, you may not have any practice experience, and that would be gained over the course of your intern enrollment with the association. So this flow chart just lays out the steps that I'll be taking you through in terms of how to apply. So we'll be talking a little bit about the application documents. So you'll be gathering those. You'll be preparing your application, submitting it. We'll be talking a little bit about a test that is required and the application fee. Once all of that is complete, your application would be forwarded for an assessment to see if you do qualify academically, and that would go to the academic review committee. You may be subject to a academic assessment, which I'm going to talk about in a few moments, and all of those recommendations that come out of the assessment would be presented to the registration committee to determine whether you are eligible for enrollment as an intern with the association. So as I mentioned, application document requirements, these are the standard requirements for the professional engineer geoscience pathway. We're looking for the completed application form. We need a copy of photo ID. We need a detailed chronological resume with any and all engineering and geoscience work experience. This becomes important if you are assigned exams. You may have an opportunity to waive them if there is a significant amount of experience, which I'll talk about in a moment. We also need the academic transcript. So if you have graduated from a Canadian program, we accept the transcript issued directly from the university. However, if it is an international program, we do need the West course by course document. And furthermore, if your program you've graduated is not an accredited degree, from an accredited program, you would be asked also to complete a self-assessment of your academic program, but you would be notified if that is required. For the specified scope of practice license applicants, you'd also be submitting a discipline of practice form. So for internationally educated transcripts, as I mentioned, we do require the World Education Services course by course. We do have instructions on how to order that course transcript, verified transcript. We also have an option that if you have graduated from an accredited program by Washington Accord signatory country, we would accept the document by document. But it's probably best to confirm whether you're eligible for that before going the document by document route, because the standard is typically the course by course. If you are unable to get the course by course because of adverse circumstances in the country of your education, there is something called the West Gateway program. So you can access it on the West website, and there's information about the steps that you could take through that. Furthermore, if you completed a postgraduate degree from a Canadian university, you could ask the institution to submit your transcript that you submitted at the time that you applied for your postgraduate degree. We would accept that. But that's only if you have completed the Canadian postgraduate degree. So this is what a typical West course by course looks like. You'll see the sort of cover credential analysis outlining the institution. And what we're looking for is the equivalency of at least a 4-year degree. And then the pages that follow will actually outline all of the courses that you've taken with the credit equivalency and the grade. So all of this is considered in the application assessment. The application fee is $150, and all that is payable through an online account that we set up for you. If required, if you have not graduated from an accredited program and an academic assessment is required, you would be subject to the academic assessment fee of $200. And then if you become an intern with the association, there are annual intern dues of $268 that are paid annually. So just a reminder on the application, very important to complete and sign all of the questions. There are some declarations at the end. It is a PDF fillable form, and you're going to email that application and a copy of your ID and resume to our inbox at admissions, which is apply@. The transcripts that are coming from WES or from an institution, those are directly sent to us. So no need to send that or copies. We do require the original from WES or from the institution. I mentioned that there's also something called the ACT Bylaws and Code of Ethics test. This test is required before you proceed any further in the process. It is a 50-question true or false test, and it is an open book, and we activate that for you once we've received all of your documents. And there's more information about the ABC test available on our website. Again, it relates to our ACT, our bylaws, and our code of ethics, but it is open book, so you are free to use the resources online while you're doing the test. So again, just to recap, we've got the gathering of documents, downloading and completing the application, submitting it to our apply@. inbox. We will activate that ACT bylaws and code of ethics test. There is a requirement of 90% to pass the test, and you have 3 tries before you can send a request to me to have a look at next steps on it. And then paying the application fee. So once all that is in, staff will have a look at it to do a preliminary academic assessment, and if needed, you will be contacted in terms of doing a self-assessment of your program. So when we're doing that academic assessment program, we have 3 confidence levels that we use. So we have a confidence level 1 if the program is acceptable. We're confident that it meets all the requirements, and so no academic assessment would be required. Confidence level 2, this is the program is comparable to a university level in Canada, but it needs to we need to ensure this through an assessment. So here we'd be looking at the breadth, depth, progression, and coherence of the education assessed. For this confidence level, confirmatory exams or options to waive exams exist for this confidence level. If it's a confidence level 3, this applicant would not be eligible for academic assessment. They may be missing 1 or more years and a bachelor's level study, so they would not be eligible for the PEng or PGO pathway. However, the specified scope practice license pathway may be possible. So just a little bit more detail on confidence level 1. Applicants falling into this category would have graduated from a program in engineering accredited under Washington Accord or CTI and or Engineers Canada CEAB accredited program. For geoscience, applicants would be coming from with a Canadian 4-year Bachelor's of Science in Geoscience that meets the Geoscientists Canada knowledge requirements. Another applicant that would fall into this category would be somebody who's already had their academic assessment performed for licensure by another Canadian regulator, and they were found to be the program was acceptable. And lastly, if you are an internationally, if your degree is international, and you have a postgraduate degree, either in Canada or abroad, or from a signatory under the Washington Accord, and it is in the same or similar discipline as the undergraduate degree, you may fall into this category as well, confidence level 1. So just a little information about Washington Accord. This is for engineering. It's a multilateral agreement between bodies that are responsible for accreditation of engineering qualifications. Currently, there are about 25 countries that are full signatories, and this is growing. Qualifications are accredited or recognized by all the signatories. So if you have graduated from a country that's a signatory and your program's accredited, you would qualify as a confidence level 1. On the geoscience side, we compare the transcripts to the Geoscience Canada knowledge requirements. It has tables of courses that are required, and that is sort of the standard that we look at for confidence level 1 applicants. For confidence level 2, if you are deemed to be confidence level 2, you'll be asked to complete a self-assessment of your academic transcript, and you'll be submitting it to our documents ad inbox. There is a fee for the assessment. If the assessment comes back and you have less than 9 credit units of potential gaps, you'll be asked to do confirmatory exams. But if there are more than 9 credit units and gaps, you may be assigned additional deficiency exams. The good news is that there's a couple of options to waive exams, and this is if you have 4 or more years of work experience in the discipline related to the degree, you would be assigned what we call CBA technical competencies. More on that in a moment. Or if you do have a postgraduate degree in the same discipline related to the undergraduate degree that covers the knowledge requirements, you may be given the option to waive exams. So this is what a self-assessment typically looks like. The first 2 pages, you'll be filling out a little bit of information about your degree. But then as you see under column 1, you'll have, this is for engineering, you'll have all of the, what all of the compulsory subjects are and the electives. And then in column 2, you will put in what course you took to meet that requirement. And so forth. We do encourage the use of color coding if you want to draw attention to your various courses. So for example, on the right-hand side of this slide, you'll see for math, the applicant identified that they had taken a few different math courses, Applied Mathematics 1, 2, and 3, how many credits were assigned for that particular course and what their mark was. So when the applicant fills all this information out, that's submitted to an assessor, and they conduct their assessment to determine if there are any course gaps or anything needs to be confirmed. So once the assessor is looking at the exam or the academic assessment, they're referencing what's called the Engineers Canada exam syllabi. So Engineers Canada develops and maintains exam syllabi, and this is what all regulators use to assess academic qualifications. So there are 3 categories that we look at: basic studies, complementary studies, and discipline-specific studies. So once the assessor completes the assessment, they consider your transcript and they look at your courses and how they meet the requirements under the exam syllabi. Again, if there are 9 or credit units or more, you will be assigned specific technical exams. You may also be given, or you will have the option to take courses instead of the technical exams. If you have less than 9 credit units, you get to pick your exams, 2 from Group A, 1 from Group B, or you also have the option to just write 1 exam, which is either the Fundamentals of Engineering or the Fundamentals of Geology exam. If you are assigned exams and you fail 3 exams, then your education cannot be confirmed and you would your application would be denied. You would have to reapply when you've demonstrated that you have taken some courses. For those technical exams, there is a website with more information about technical exams. There's 2 sittings, fall, winter, and spring, summer. We participate on the National Technical Exam program with other regulators across Canada. The cost per exam is $440, and all of this is available to register through your online profile. As I mentioned, you may also be given the option to write the Fundamentals of Engineering exam if there are certain criteria that are met. In addition, we've got information about courses. If you'd rather take exams, applicant can take courses through the University of Manitoba. The options for that are you could sign up for the post-baccalaureate diploma in engineering and take exams through that program. Alternatively, if you just want to take courses, you can apply to extended education, general studies. And once you're granted permission to take courses by the department and the academic review committee, you can proceed to register for those courses instead of exams. The other option, if you are in competence level 2 and you have academic assessments that have been performed, if the assessor notes and the academic review confirms that you have 4 or more years of work experience and you had less than 9 credit unit gaps, you will be assigned CBA technical competencies. So there are, I believe, 10 engineering competencies and roughly the same for geoscience. You'll be asked to fill those competencies out and have validators that are selected by you to validate what you've written. And you'll have 3 attempts to pass. And if you do pass, then the registration committee will waive the exams and deem you academically qualified and enrolled as an intern. So that sort of concludes the first end of how to apply and become academically eligible to begin your journey as an intern. We've got a couple of resource slides, or this slide in specific. If you want specific information about the pathways and the requirements, you can find out more information on these websites. This deck will be available after the presentation, so you will have a copy of this. We also have a website specifically geared for internationally educated applicants, and then some other web pages that include some assistance for financial help that potentially could be pursued if you are assigned any technical exams. And if you have any questions at all when you're starting your application journey, please reach out to our general inbox. It's at apply@enggeomanitoba.ca. So the next portion of the presentation, we're going to focus on how to register as a professional engineer or geoscientist. So once you are eligible, you're academically eligible, you will be invited to enroll as an intern. So you can see that there are a couple of steps that will be required for you to obtain professional registration once you are deemed academically qualified. We're going to talk about those in a moment, and the big piece is that competency-based assessment process. There'll be another step that involves writing a national professional practice exam and an assessment by a CB assessor before your entire application and file is submitted to the registration committee for consideration. So you are academically qualified and you are accepted as an intern, you get to start the competency-based assessment process. So CBA is done online using our competency reporting system. And in the system, you're going to be documenting and saving your work experience information, and you're going to be describing the progress towards meeting the competency requirements. You're also going to be submitting everything online to a validator, and an assessor will also be looking at it as well. So previously, I went over the academic requirements. So, the reference to the 4-year degree, a confirmatory program if needed. So once you have deemed academically qualified, then we look at the experience requirement. So you are going to be doing the competency-based assessment, which includes 34 engineering competencies for the engineering pathway or 29 geoscience competencies. Another piece that will need to be confirmed, and it's assessed through the CBA process, is your English language proficiency as well as good character. And then lastly, the professional practice exam. You will be required to pass the exam on professionalism, law, and ethics. Once you do become an intern, there are some benefits that come along with that. You can use the title EIT, GIT. We have a lot of chapters at the association, many of them ethnocultural, so they're great for networking and getting tips on experiences and so forth. We have 2 great mentorship programs. One mentorship program is open to all, and another is focused on women. We have a variety of networking events throughout the year and professional development opportunities, as well as volunteer service opportunities. So there are a lot of benefits that come with that intern status. So I'm going to take a few minutes now just to go over competency-based assessment. So CBA is a type of assessment that's conducted to determine whether an applicant has progressed to a professional level in their work experience in their field. And what I mean by competency is the ability to perform tasks and roles of an occupational category to standards that are expected and recognized by employers and the community, as well as industry. You'll hear me talking about a few terms. Applicants mean the individual that's going through the registration or licensure process. Validators are those who have firsthand knowledge of the applicant. So typically it's a supervisor or could be a colleague or a professor. Assessors are individuals who conduct the assessments, and they are a professional engineer or professional geoscientist, member of the association. And then staff. We have an admissions team here that an applicant will interact with, and as well as the assessors. So as I mentioned, all of the CBA documenting competencies is done online. It's in a reporting system, and it's where applicants, validators, and assessors access an applicant's file to assess the competencies. We are not the only regulator in Canada that uses this reporting system. So we have the benefit of working with other regulators to improve and make improvements on the system, and benefit from knowledge and experience in using this system. The framework or the elements of CBA include a framework. So for engineering, it's 7 categories of 34 competencies. For geoscience, it's 4 categories, 29 competencies, and then specific indicators and workplace examples that are set up to assist the applicant when they're filling out their competency-based assessment. When it comes to the self-assessment, that's performed by the applicant. So they'll be entering their education information will be there, but they'll be entering their employment history, their validator information, and doing the self-assessment. There's a rating scale of 0 to 5, and what we're looking for is a rating of 3, which indicates entry to practice. The validator process includes validators that the applicant assigns to validate their competencies, and they also rate and provide overall feedback. And then the assessment process includes assessment by an assessor of the association who reviews and assesses the file and rates and provides overall feedback. So as I mentioned, engineering side has 7 categories, 34 competencies. They range from technical through communication to continuing professional development. On the geoscience side, again, professional competencies. Other categories relate to scientific method and competencies in a geoscience practice. I mentioned the workplace examples or indicators. These, for every competency, an applicant will see various indicators come up in the system available to help the applicant when they're doing their self-assessment. So for this particular competency on technical competency, an applicant will maybe want to identify how they complied with legal and regulatory requirements, or maybe talk about a time where they prepared reports assessing project compliance. So these are just provided to give an idea of what assessors and the registration committee will be looking for in the competency for each competency self-assessment. The rating scale I mentioned is from 0 to 5. What we're looking for is a rating of about 3, which indicates that the applicant's ready for professional responsibilities. And there are overall category averages for each competency. And so we are looking for an average of about 3 for each of the categories. Just new out a couple of months ago is something that the association has adopted as an additional resource to help applicants. It's called the CBA Competency Interpretation Statements. And these provide additional guidance in addition to those indicators and workplace examples. We're finding applicants are really appreciative of a little bit more guidance when it comes to what to include in their competencies. So for example, in this new interpretation statements for the category 1 on technical competence regulations and codes, you can see the competencies described on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, here's some additional guidance in terms of what you could include in your competency and what the assessors will be looking for. In the competencies, we have something called Canadian environment competencies. So we don't have a requirement for Canadian work experience. However, an applicant does have to demonstrate equivalency with the Canadian environment. So there are certain competencies where that is essential and that minimum ratings are required. We have available to interns a few seminars called the Working in Canada seminars. So those will be available once you become an intern, and more information is available on the competency assessment website. The Canadian environment competencies for engineering, you'll see, are up. There are 8 there for engineering, ranging from technical to communication and professional accountability. On the geoscience side, similar, there are 7 competencies that are deemed Canadian work environment competencies. So they would all have a minimum rating of 3. Just wanted to speak briefly about the communication competency. So it is important for you to, if you're practicing in Manitoba, that you are proficient in English. And so how the association assesses a competency in English is through the CBA system. So there is a specific communication competencies, and you must meet a rating of 3 in all 3 communication competencies. If the registration committee sees that based on validator feedback, that the applicant may not be at sort of a level that we're looking for, the association does reserve the right to request an English language proficiency test, and we do accept the following tests: Canadian, the CELPIP, the IELTS, and the CAEL. So there are more information on our website about that, but again, we do not request that you provide the results of your test only if you are asked of it, and that would be based on how you do in the CBA process. So I just want to run through the last couple slides here just to give you a little bit more idea of what happens in CBA. So once you get access to the system, you're going to input your employment history. You're going to select your validators. You can upload supporting documents like reference letters or, maybe an abstract of a thesis or publication, and then you'll do your self-assessment of all of the competencies. Once you're done your self-assessment of all of the competencies, you have to assign them to a validator. So our validator policy is that a minimum of 4 validators are required, and 2 validators need to be professional engineers or professional geoscientists or equivalent. And each competency only needs 1 validator, but a validator can verify multiple competencies. So who can be a validator? Well, it can be and should be a professional engineer or geoscientist or equivalent. If not, they could be a supervisor I mean, a supervisor that is a PN, PGO would be ideal. They could be colleagues, clients, or consultants, but the most important is that they must have first-hand knowledge of the work. And when we say or equivalent, we recognize that there are applicants coming with a lot of work experience overseas, and they may not have a professional designation, but we would ask the validators in those validators that are identified if they are recognized as a licensed practitioner in their country. Do they hold a degree in engineering or geoscientist, and do they have firsthand knowledge? So when we say or equivalent, it is to accommodate those individuals that don't have any or very limited experience in Canada, and may be challenged to find a PEng or PGO validator. So the self-assessment follows that the applicant follows a standard format. It's called the situation action outcome format. So for every competency, you're going to be providing a brief overview of a specific situation. You're going to write about the actions that were taken in response to that situation, and that you made. And then you're going to summarize the outcome or the impact that the applicant's action, solutions, or judgments generated. Once you've done that for each of your competencies, you're going to send it to the validators that you've selected. They're going to review your employment history. They'll accept or decline the role. They will upload a business card or resume. They will review and rate and comment on the competencies, and they also answer a set of general questions about your or the applicant's readiness for registration. When the validation process is complete, it will go on to the assessor. So as mentioned, assessors are professional engineer or professional geoscientists of the association that are assigned, and they are bound by confidentiality. They'll be reviewing the work, the competencies, and the validator comments, and they'll be looking to see if the applicant's examples have enough detail and the applicant shows good character and is ready for registration. So once the CBA report is assessed, all of that information is prepared for admissions review. If the applicant has not completed the National Professional Practice Exam, they'll have to do that before their application is eligible for registration committee review. So the National Professional Exam is a 2.5-hour online exam on professionalism, law, and ethics. It's offered 5 times a year, and it's all available. Registration is online. Every applicant, whether they want to obtain their professional designation or a specified scope of practice license, must take and pass this exam. And it is a requirement across Canada with every regulator across Canada. And there is a website with more information about the exam. So just to wrap up, I know this is a lot of information, but the first half of the presentation really focused on how to apply, gathering your documents, and getting everything submitted for consideration on whether you require an academic assessment or not. And if the registration committee deems that you have fulfilled the confirmatory requirements, or you are confidence level 1, you will be invited to enroll as an intern. And that's when you will be beginning the competency-based assessments. Once that's complete, or while you're completing CBA, you can write the National Professional Practice Exam. Once your CBA is complete, that will go on to the assessor, who will make a recommendation to the registration committee. And if there is no request for additional information or rework, you may be invited to become a professional member. So there's quite a bit of material covered in this deck, but I encourage you on the competency-based assessment to check out a number of resources we have on our CBA website. Additionally, we updated our manual of admissions last July, so I'd invite you to have a look at that comprehensive document. There's also some information about some of the institutions that offer programs or courses, if that's what you're looking to do. Or if you want information about, in general, working in engineering Canada, I'd invite you to check out the websites engineerhere.ca as well as geoscienceincanada.ca. So that is the end of the presentation. I know there's a lot of information, but invite you, if you have any questions now, or even if you think of some later, to feel free to reach out to myself or Claudia regarding the academic assessment portion or our general apply at, and we would be happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and Janet. That was very informative. And now, yes, we will open it up to our audience. We have a couple of questions on the chat. I'm just going to forward that to you. Okay, Khalid is asking, what's the required level of English to be accepted?
Okay, maybe I will just go back to the slide that there we go. So we're looking, applicants want to likely have about a Canadian benchmark of about a 7 or 8. So that's sort of the level that you'll probably, those applicants will be likely successful in their pathway and journey as a professional in the province. But we recognize not every applicant's going to be at that. So that's why, improving English comprehension, writing, oral is very important. You can be doing that while you're intern or even before you apply. But how we assess the English communication is through competency-based assessment. And so when I talked about ratings, there's a rating scale of 0 to 5, and we're looking for a rating of 3. So the applicant rates themselves, their validator rates themselves, and then the assessor. So if we see that everything's at least a 3, if not higher, then the applicant will have met our communication minimum rating. However, if there's any doubt, or if we're getting comments back from the validator saying that the applicant may need more time or more improvements in English, we may ask for the results of an English language proficiency test, and then just work with the applicant to find out a little bit more.
Thank you. Okay. And we have got Rick asking, I'm an electrical engineering graduate from India. I have 20 years of work experience in power generating station as a maintenance engineer. My question is, am I eligible for EIT? Is it hard to do my competency validation?
Okay, so it kind of depends on the work and what is considered power engineering, because professional engineering in the province of Manitoba is not necessarily the profession of power engineering. Power engineering actually has its own act in the province. So you may want to just follow up directly with us at Apply At, just to find out where, what type of work experience and what you've been doing, to see if, the pathway for a professional engineer is the pathway that you should be on. So I can't really tell you right now without sort of getting an idea of your academic background as well as the specific type of work experience you've been doing. So please reach out.
Great. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we still have a couple of minutes, like 10 minutes left. So again, I encourage everyone to type their question, or maybe you can also raise your hand and we can unmute you and you can ask your question. Okay, we have one raised hand. Patrick, I have allowed your mic. Feel free to speak. You could just have to unmute yourself.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We can hear you.
Yeah, so my question is, I am graduated in 2002 from India. During that time, my college is not accredited by Washington Accord, and later on, it got accredited with Washington DC for this accord. So I do have my WES document by document. So I do need my WES again as course by course.
Um, we're not, we need to actually do a preliminary assessment just to confirm. So probably best to contact us, and then we can confirm whether your program is indeed accredited, or if it's not accredited, we may need you may need to upgrade to the course by course. There is a process to upgrade through WES to get the course by course, but maybe just before you do that, confirm with us. You can reach out to apply at, and then we can let you know if that would be necessary.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Anjanette, we have Cal asking if we can share the presentation or a summary of it.
Yep. Yeah, we'll provide the presentation deck to you, Luna, and then you can provide it to those that were on today's session.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, and Joshua is asking, can I have all my validators from my home country since I'm yet to have an employment in engineering here in Canada?
Yes. So when I talk briefly about what qualifies as a validator, the important part is that your validators, two of them have to be recognized as practicing engineers in your home country. So depending on what accreditation or licensing body, it's helpful if they belong to that. We may need to follow up and ask the validators just for a resume or business card to confirm that they are, engineers. But yes, you do not need a validator from Canada. It's always great if you do have a PNG or PGO validator from Canada, but we recognize there are not a lot of newcomers, and so it's not a requirement to have a Canadian validator.
Okay, great. And we have Tom Bra asking, I have 15 years of experience in oil and gas as a petroleum geoscientist and a PhD in petroleum geoscience. Do I still need to do the internship?
Yes, the way that it's structured in Manitoba is every first-time applicant has to become an intern before they become a professional member. You may not be in that intern status for very long, especially if you have the 15 years plus of experience. So you may go through competency-based assessment quite quickly. But yes, all first-time applicants do need to go through to become an intern first before they become a professional member.
Great, thank you. And Walid is asking, hello, thank you for the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between engineering technologist by CITAM and geoscience engineering? Thanks a lot.
Okay, so CTAM is the association that regulates technology and technologists and technicians, whereas professional engineering and geoscience is regulated by our association. That said, we have some applicants who are licensed by CTAM, who are technologists or technicians, who apply for a specified scope of practice license with us. So they want to practice within a very limited scope of engineering or geoscience. The main primary difference between the two is to get your professional engineering or geoscience designation, you need at least that 4-year degree. To be qualified to apply for CTAM, you're looking at probably a 2 or 3-year diploma. So it is very different. So I would encourage you to contact CTAM directly for more information about their licensure process. But where we do see some applicants come to us is when they want the specified scope of practice license, because the academic qualification for our license for that is a minimum 2 to 3 year diploma. So, but again, it depends what an applicant wants to do. Do they want to be practicing engineering and geoscience within a limited scope? Then they can apply to us. But if all they're doing, if they just want to do technician or technology work, then CTAM is likely the better place to pursue.
Perfect. Thank you, Anjanette. Thank you, Walid, for your question. I also want to let everyone know that we are having the same webinar with CTAM on August 6th. So if you want to join, just visit our website and then you can register yourself for the webinar. Okay, so many people are saying thank you. Thank you for joining us today as well.
Yes, thank you. Our pleasure.
I'm just gonna share my slides. Okay, thank you, Anjanette, for joining us today. It was really informative and interactive as well. And thank you all participants for your excellent questions. Again, thank you for choosing Manitoba Start because our services are free and funded by Immigration, Refugee Citizenship Canada. In the province of Manitoba, your feedback plays an important role in helping us improve and continue to provide high quality services. This short 3-minute survey helps us understand your experience and ensure we are meeting the needs of newcomers. So your responses are confidential and will be only reported in aggregated form without identifying you in any way. I'm also sharing a link on the chat, so you can either use the QR code or the chat link. I'll just give you a few minutes to complete, and just it will give you what the event of today was. Just you can reply by information station. Okay, so if you are not currently a Manitoba Start client, you can call our front desk, or maybe you can email the front desk email address, or visit us in person at 271 Portage Avenue, or complete our online registration form that's on our website under the newcomer tab and register for services. By registering with us, you will connect with settlement services and have access to our career services, which can you get assistance on resume development, career planning, job search strategies, and interview skills. And we do have also events with different employers through our information sessions, webinars like this, or in-person sessions. We do have also speed networking events with different sectors and different employers, and mock interviews with, we're doing it with insurance and banking, so you can check it on our event calendar as well. And you can also follow us on social media. We're very active on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook to just get updated on our events. So on behalf of Anjanette Zelensky and the Manitoba Start team, thank you everyone for attending, and stay well.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye
Thank
now.
you. Bye-bye.